Smarterfan. Smarterfan. Yeah. Smarterfan.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan Podcast, where we bring you behind the veil of sports business and life. I'm Joe, and this is Barry. How you doing, Barry?
Joe, I'm doing good. It's what, Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good day. It's wonderful. I've eaten some wonderful oatmeal raisin cookies. I've been in the kitchen baking. Had some croissants, and it's been a lovely day, Joe. And no better way to end it with some sports with you.
All right. All right.
Absolutely,
So-
my friend.
Yeah, so, all right. I'm going to do a little recap of week 9 in the NFL.
Ooh.
And, and it seems like the Dolphins are like a fish out of water, so to speak, on the road, and they're 0-3 against teams with winning records, and they came up short against the Chiefs in Germany this past week,
Mm-hmm.
and this kid, Josh Dobbs, who whipped our ass a couple of weeks ago, he
From
came
where?
off.
Josh from where?
Well, he
What
was
team?
he was with the Cards at the time, but
Okay.
he's with the Vikings now. He came off the bench and led the Vikings to a comeback win against the Falcons. Now, this guy, they just got him from the Cards, and he was learning the playbook in his headset during the game because he just got there. So he was learning the playbook on the fly, and he led them to a comeback win against the Falcons.
That's how you get a job. That's how you get a job.
Definitely. And the Ravens are back. They just took apart the Seahawks. I mean, just took them apart. But I thought the Rams would at least show up against the Packers, but I don't know what's going on with them.
They're a little lost. They're a little lost right now. They don't have a quarterback.
They lost Stafford, and they had Brett Rippon. He was the quarterback, but he couldn't get it done. And so they went and signed Carson Wentz. So that's going to be interesting. The Bengals are back on track, but I'm not sure about the Bills. They're another team that's up and down, And the Chargers was just hard to watch. I mean,
Did the Jets at least win?
No.
Oh, boy.
No. They couldn't do nothing. And, they came back down to earth after that game of attrition against the Giants. And the Giants didn't fare any better against the Raiders, and
No.
And the Cowboys, well, let's just say, they'll always shoot themselves in the foot in the big game. And that's all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I got a lot to say, but I'm going to bite my tongue.
So, and then there was the Raiders mess. Mark Davis, he finally pulled the plug on the Josh McDaniels experiment.
Long overdue.
Definitely. He fired him, the GM, and the OC. And in the process, they benched Jimmy G. So they started they started the rookie Aiden O'Connell, and he started against the Giants, and he gave interim coach Antonio Pierce his first win in his coaching debut. So, and the one thing I want to say about the Raiders is I was glad to see this kid that I told you about, Malcolm Kuntz.
Yeah, we got to get him on the show.
I was glad to see him finally, get to play because he's a good kid. I've met him.
You going to get him on the show? I know, fans. I said it. He just brushed over it, so I got to repeat it again. Are we getting him on the show?
I can try.
There we go. That's what I need to hear. Thank you, sir.
Yes. like I said, he's a good kid. He's very athletic, very quick, and when he gets out there, he does things. He gets things done. They just don't give him enough playing time, in my opinion. So that's all I have to say about that. And the standout players, were the AFC offensive player was C.J. Stroud. Now this kid, he was balling. He set a new single game passing record for a rookie with 470 yards and 5 touchdowns.
Oh my goodness. Who did they play?
No interceptions, and he led the Texans to a 39-37 win over Tampa.
Oh wow.
Yeah. The NFC offensive player was Josh Dobbs, who, like I said, he came off the bench to beat the Falcons despite not knowing the playbook. So what's Zach Wilson's excuse?
Just not very good.
AFC defensive player was Kenny Moore of the Colts. And he had 2 pick sixes, a 47 and 66 yard return scores, and he had 8 tackles.
Wow.
And the NFC defensive player was Paulson Adebu, with 7 tackles, 3 pass breakups, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and he recovered a fumble for the Saints. So that's my little tidbit on this week in the NFL. So what is on your mind?
Well, let's not move so fast, Mr. Joe. Let's not move so fast. I'm looking up for something special I had. But I don't see it here. But well, I have to go back to Coach Prime had one of his former players that he played with the Cowboys with talking to the young men at Colorado, and the gentleman was bigger than a wall. This dude was huge.
Really?
Yeah,
Wasn't Robert?
I don't know who he is. He's third round pick, but this guy was literally bigger than a wall. It was like, bruh. Well, he was a third round pick. Went to North Carolina, but his story was very moving. And he grew up in Camden, New Jersey, and talked about being raised by his mother and grandmother. And he realized in high school that he had to do something to change his mother's life and his grandmother's life. And that was getting 1,278 miles, 0.8 to the University of North Carolina on a full scholarship. And he was talking about that's where his focus was. He allowed nothing to distract him from that focus of 1,278.8 miles. Okay. And he says, when I say that, people always ask me, what is the 0.8 for? 0.8 for is for the little things. It's the little things, guys, that are going to take you over the top. It's the little things, the little disciplines. Like he said, Coach, what time was breakfast? He said, Coach Prime said 6:30. He said, how many of you guys were here at 6:30? Okay, I see some of you were. How many of you were here at 7 o'clock? Yeah, I see some more of you. It's the little things, guys. It's the little things. So you want to go to the next level. You want to achieve this goal. It's going to be the little things. It's going to be the 0.8. That's going to get you there.
Yeah.
And, it's those kind of powerful messages that are so needed for athletes to hear. Because it's such a, being an athlete is such a otherworldly life. People have no idea. Like you kind of in a cocoon, but everybody you're exposed to everybody. Right? It's weird. It's really weird. And people love you and hate you and don't even know you.
Exactly.
Right? They love it and you don't even know you. Right? And so it's this very bizarre existence, and that kind of takes me into, hey, I just want to tell everybody one of the greatest podcasts you could watch is Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas, Agent Zero. Oh, it's a really great podcast. Really talks about things that really makes you a smarter fan. Really gives a perspective. He gave a perspective on because he has Kmart on there. He has a couple other guys on there, and they talk about everything: money, politics, pilot tricks. And they had one gentleman on there talking about, he got into the league, he was balling, doing everything right, and his coach brought him to the office and said, I really hate to do this because it's like doing it to my son, but you're probably not going to play much the rest of the season.
Wow.
And he was putting up like 17 points in 11 minutes. It was something crazy like that. Just balling. But the guy that they were paying, listen to this, the guy they were paying $20 million had to play, even though he wasn't as good.
That's the way it is.
That's the way it is.
Yeah.
So the guy was talking about, you come in and you're young and you're balling, you think you're doing everything right, and then this kicks in, and then the host was saying, people really don't understand that dynamic, as a player, because you love to play, and you figure if I'm the best guy out there to help us win, I should be the guy. But then you begin, and then he said, it really made me sour about the game. But as I got older, I began to understand the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't be making 10 million starting, but they're paying another guy 20 million who's not as good, but he got to start because you paying him 20 million. What, to sit on the bench? You know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah.
And so these are the different angles, the 0.8, the business of the business on and off the floor.
Yeah.
That needs to be talked about to help educate these young men and young women of the variables. Because you come into sports because you love it generally, right? You love it. You love the playing. You love the competition. You love it, and it's just so important for them to get this education. Because I'm telling you, blink twice, your academic eligibility is over. You know what I mean?
That's for sure.
And if you're not focused and if you're not locked in, you'll miss your train. You'll miss your train, and you'll be like, what happened? It's like, why am I, where am I? Right? Because you didn't focus on seizing your opportunity, seizing your moment, and, one of the great things that Coach Prime does is really try to, and for the whole world to see is, opportunity is just what it is, an opportunity. It's up for you to make the most of that opportunity because it comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. And it can come and go largely with no control. Like that guy said, I'm doing it. I'm playing. The coach is himself telling me, man, I hate to do this to you.
All right.
But I got to sit you because he's making 20 million. You know what I mean? And so it's just those great things. So, folks, if you get a chance to tune in to Gilbert Arenas, he's got great folks on giving you game about, the game behind, on and off the court. And so I just wanted to share that. He had another guest on there who had played with the Miami Heat and talked about that experience of playing with LeBron and the franchise and Spoelstra. He gave a very good, interesting perspective on being coached by Spoelstra. And this kid was there when they had the big three. So they had Bron, they had Wade, they had Bosh. They you know what I'm saying? And he was coming out of Cleveland State, and he said, man, when I got on the floor, man, I had to show these people I was here to play, and just talk about the culture of the Heat. That's the other thing that, kids don't realize, who you get drafted to and what culture are you stepping into. Is this a culture of winning and a commitment to winning, or is it just a culture to show up and be competitive, to be 500? You know what I mean? and how that can affect. And personally, I have nothing against Coach Garrett, but I just feel that, Coach Garrett was 500 as a player, had a very 500 personality, coached like a 500 coach. And then, unfortunately, those players um, played 500. They did, and I think, especially the last game, and my brother called me and says, "What did you think?" I said, "I'm totally not surprised. He does not. Dak, he got ruined after his first year. If we could ever find that Dak, right?
Yeah,
we'd have a chance. But he is just in a mediocre. He got turned into a 500 quarterback. I mean, literally, I was watching the game and going, Jalen Hurts is actually mimicking the first year Dak. He's actually doing it. He goes through his progressions. He can't find his guys. He makes the defense pay by going on his feet. And I'm looking at Dak like, Dak, that's never been your strong suit to sit in the pocket. You got to make the defense play honest and run for 10, 15 yards.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm watching him and I'm like, why does he look like he doesn't know where his progressions are? And my brother was just like, man, you got a real sight for this game. And I'm like, it's like he's out there guessing. It's like he doesn't know the playbook. And I'm like, I feel bad for him, because if something radical doesn't happen, within 2 years, I don't think he'll be there. Because for what? You're just going to get 500. He runs for the end zone. He doesn't dive for the pylon. He steps out of bounds. And not scored a touchdown. And I'm like, I'm just old school. I'm like, bruh, if you're an NFL quarterback in this league and you can't run 15 yards, I don't think you're gonna have a long career.
We've seen Mahomes do it with a bad leg.
Yeah, and I just don't understand, like, why isn't that an automatic? Okay, I'm going through my progressions. Looks like everybody defense is breathing in. Let me go run for these 20 yards, get a first down, and we start again. I mean, that by this time should be muscle memory. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, it is what it is, unfortunately. And I think, it doesn't get done within the next 2 years, he won't be there. It's sad to say. And it's sad if there was a way to recapture that first year Dak. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We would be in the butt, because I was waiting. I'm just sitting there waiting for him to put the team on his back and make it happen. But he just doesn't have that gear anymore, or wants to go there anymore.
Nope.
And so it's sad to see. But I wanted to also switch gears and talk a little bit about Lamar. I think this may be Lamar's year. I think it may be Lamar year. Because finally they're healthy. Finally they're doing some stuff that they needed to do. And I'm so happy. And I got a very intense call, Joe, about the Cleveland Browns. I got a very intense call. And the person was telling me this and telling me this and telling me that and telling me this. And they said, "You're not going to respond?" I said, "No. Why should I respond?" He says, "Well, what do you think we need to do?" I said, "What I told you 4 seasons ago to do." He's a big Cleveland fan. I said, "Your problem is not players. Your problem is your coaching."
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with Deshaun Watson. There's nothing wrong with any of those guys. They don't have the right coach. And keep blaming it on this guy. He's been doing that since he's been there. But you got this number 1 at this position, this number 1 at that position, this number 1, this number 2, this number 3. You got all these all-world athletes, and you still can't figure out how to win. Now you got a quarterback, but you don't know how to coach him. You don't know how to put him in the best position. You lost your running back, all-world running back. And and it's just like, it's just sad. And this is the other thing. that happens to athletes. You can be in a situation where it's just a bad coaching, bad situation, just like Josh Daniels, who'll probably end up back in New England,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
eventually take over New England. But and nothing against Josh. It's just that he just does not have that skill set.
Well,
You know,
if you think about it, has anybody from the Belichick tree been successful?
no, no,
Exactly.
no. And again, that's how many times folks is not many, often your career is built on that. You may just be at the right place at the right time. You know what I mean? And it all
Mm.
falls in your favor. But Josh McDaniels is not that guy. You
Nope.
know,
Nope.
he's never been that guy. And the Raiders had to find out. I'm happy for Pierce. I think he'll do a great job if he's given a fair opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he could bring back the Raider mystique that's been missing so long if they
Yeah.
just leave him alone, because players play for players.
Yes. Yes.
Players play for players. And
Yeah.
so that never fails. You know what I
Well, that's
mean?
why I'm hoping that's what now with Pierce being, I would think, a defense-minded coach, that Malcolm would get more playing time.
Yeah, and a lot of that is, um, like in anything else, people play their favorites. There's politics behind it, and that's why the Raiders looked like they looked, and that's why there's
Mm.
basic mutiny, because this guy's playing whoever he's playing, but these guys can't help you. You're on a team. You know who can help you win, and you know who can't.
Mm.
Jimmy
Yeah.
G is not that guy. He's just not that guy. You know what I mean? He
Yeah.
got model good looks and is good for a cover shoot, but he's not gonna put no team on no back on his back. I mean, think about
No.
where he was. He was with the 49ers and couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
He couldn't get it done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So what made you think he's gonna get it done? But Josh, New England, right? Bring him there. Maybe we can revive whatever. Jimmy G's not that dude.
Mm-mm.
It's just not that dude.
No.
And
Nope.
other players know it, and the record speaks for itself. And notice the turnaround. And they will, I believe, under Pierce and what they're going to do. If Mark gets out of the way, they have an opportunity to come back and be
Mm-hmm.
the Raiders that they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
time will
so
tell.
time will tell. So yeah, my friend, Gilbert Arenas, the Cowboys. Ah, have mercy. Um, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the Spurs and this kid
Mm.
that they got, the #1 draft pick, which is
Yeah.
very, very interesting. I've been
Wemben
watching him.
Wembenyama.
You did a better job than me. You did a better job than me. I didn't even
Yeah.
try.
Well, he got schooled the other night.
Yeah, it's his first year. He gonna get some of that. He gonna get some of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That's part
Yeah.
of the. That's part of your initiation. You're gonna find out. Oh, there's more to this game than. Oh yeah.
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 So, well, hey.
So.
But he was impressed with the garden.
Oh yeah. He's on tour. It's the new thing, the new flavor of the month for the NBA.
Yeah.
And so he'll get to meet some grown men and find out what it's really about. And it's good. It's good. It's called growing pains. And
Yep.
so it's going to be an interesting situation, and I just
Mm-hmm.
is exciting, and it's the Spurs, and hopefully I can get Mario Ellie on our podcast and talk with us. He's a good friend of mine from college who played for Houston Rockets
Okay.
and played for the Spurs. So I have
Okay.
reached out to him, and you know how we do, Joe. This is Smarterfan podcast. We're gonna open up the Q&A. We're gonna open up with guests. We're gonna open up to give our fans at Smarterfan podcast an enriching experience and perspective they've never seen or heard before. So my good friend, yeah, that's what I got going on. I'm feeling like chili though. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, don't mind me. I'm having a little food moment. Don't mind.
All right. Well, speaking of the Garden, a lot of people might not know this, but the Garden had an inhabitant that was there before the Rangers. They were called the New York Americans, and they were a pro hockey team, and their nickname was the Amerks, and they were from 1925 to 1942, and Thomas Duggan and arranged with Tex Rickard to have a team play in Madison Square Garden in 1925, and Duggan and a bootlegger named Bill Dwyer were awarded the franchise for New York, but didn't have any players, because they just had the franchise. So they bought the rights to the Hamilton Tigers players for $75,000 for the whole team.
Mm.
And the team became the New York Americans. And they entered the league along with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Yes, there was a hockey team called the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Wow.
And they were, they were good, but they weren't good, but very popular, and in front of the large crowds. And their success in that regard prompted Garden management to go back on a promise they made to the Americans about them being the only team in the Garden. So they brought in another franchise, and they were referred to as Texas Rangers, and that's how the New York Rangers were born in 1926.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that's how the rivalry started. And the Amerks, they already had a fan base, but the Rangers fan base grew when they won their first Stanley Cup in 1927, which fueled the rivalry even more. And although they only met twice in the playoffs, they split the series at one apiece in 28 and 37. But the Americans began to struggle financially as the Rangers fan base grew, and they won the Stanley Cup in 33 and 40. The American fan base, it didn't grow anymore, and several teams, including the Ranger players, lost players to the Rangers lost players to the World War II. So, and then the Americans couldn't replenish their roster after that because of their financial woes. So they ended up suspending operations after 42, and they left the NHL. And that's when they left, there were 6 teams, and that's the 6 teams that became known as the original 6. And it also should be noted that this has become legend, and it's that Red Dutton, he was the GM and coach of the Americans, said that the Rangers would not win another cup in his lifetime, and this became part of the Rangers curse that lasted 54 years until 1994, and that was 8 years after he died.
That's a serious curse.
yeah. So,
wow.
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, they weren't a good team, but they were just popular with the fans. So
hey. But, interesting. Okay, all right, Joe. You always have to brag. He slips us in, fans. It's like 0. I got 0. He's got like 50 with this history stuff. I'm not giving up though. I'm gonna come back. Coach Prime,
I know you will.
I'm coming back with some stuff. I'm coming back, Joe. I'm coming back.
That's so yeah, my tidbit.
That's your little tidbit. Well, listen, man. Let me tell you, we got some exciting things on deck for you, our Smarterfan family. We got some exciting things coming that I think you're gonna enjoy. Some great people coming on that you're going to enjoy, and it's just going to be an exciting 2023, 24, 25 season going forward with a lot of stuff we've got coming for you that we think you're going to enjoy. And as we say, a Smarterfan podcast, stay in the game. Joe, anything else?
Nah, that's all I got.
All right, folks. So stay in the game and look for us next week, and we'll be back at you at Smarterfan Podcast. Be well and share. Subscribe. We're on YouTube now, and so we're bringing more stuff to you. Stay up with us, folks. Don't fall asleep. We're going to have exciting times going forward. Be well.
All right.
Smarterfan.